My name is Rob Baker and I'm the principal programmer on Grip, which means I'm responsible for producing all of the code for the game. One of the unexpected pleasures that I got from working on Roll Cage Redux recently was realizing how much the original Roll Cage touched people when they were kids. I can't tell you how many emails I've received from people thanking me for being part of the team for bringing Roll Cage to the world. When we wrote Roll Cage, there was no real internet around. It was there, but people weren't really using it. It certainly wasn't the communal hive that it is today. So we saw reviews in magazines, which were great, but we didn't really hear feedback from real people. Not then. So it was a real surprise that 15 years, almost 20 years later now, you got people commending you on what Roll Cage meant to them and how it made their childhood. I'm quoting them now. It's amazing. I felt so humbled hearing these stories from people. But I think part of the satisfaction I'm going to get from releasing Grip with the rest of the team here is knowing that we're going to be making those dreams come alive for people again. A whole new generation of people will have their first gaming experience playing Grip, and that's something to be proud of, and yeah, makes you feel humble. The Grip's been a hard ride. We had no idea at all whether it would be successful when we started. We knew it was going to be difficult. We were essentially producing something close to a AAA title, even though it isn't AAA, but we're producing it with a very small team. It's a big ask. It's a high bar that we set ourselves, and certainly financially, trying to get the game developed throughout has been like bouts of nervousness, not knowing where the next round of funding is coming from, coupled with real high confidence when you get some great reviews on the internet, for example, and established players on the internet have really liked what you're doing, even the early stuff, which of course is not great because it's early. And so it's been like that the whole time. It's been, are we going to make it? And oh yeah, we're going to make it. Everyone's loving it. But can we make the next milestone? Until we signed up with Wired. Only then did we get some real peace of mind to just get on with the job. We know everything's going to work. We just need to get it finished. And being this close now after 3.5 years, if we've been working on this now, it's almost like giving birth, really. When you hear people swearing playing your game, you know you've got it right. Yeah, community in this game has been really quite helpful, and I think largely because of the generation gap. I'm nearly 50 years old now, but most of our gamers are around 20, 25, I would imagine, most of our players. And that's a whole different mindset, I think. I'm aware of the modern game features like XP and multiplayer. It's been around for a long time, but personally I don't get it. I'm not bothered about XP, I'm not too bothered about multiplayer, but for that generation it's absolutely number one, and they never let us forget it, and they shouldn't let us forget it, because if we were left to our natural inclination, we might not have paid so much attention to that kind of modern generation stuff. So they've helped it be a modern game. But also, I think, in some core ways, they've been quite pivotal as well. I'll give you an example. When we were initially working on the physics for the game, for me it was quite important to have heavy vehicles behaving like heavy vehicles. In Roll Cage they were supposed to be very heavy. They were supposed to be 5-10 tons, whatever, something like that. But they felt like remote control cars. because they had ridiculous acceleration and he couldn't get the detail in the rendering to show the scale of them. And the perspective was all warped as well. So they felt like toys, and that was absolutely something I wanted to avoid with Grip. And so initially our tanks behaved like tanks, our tank class vehicles, and their acceleration was low. And our community never stopped whining about it. And they just ground me down over years. Slowly, they kept getting more and more acceleration, more and more speed. And personally, I'm not happy with where they are now. But as far as a game goes, to the buying public, it's the perfect compromise because of these guys. So I can only thank them for it, in pushing us in the right direction and not giving up on us. I think Grip separates itself from other races in today's market by the fact it has multiple routes, which are often missing, and sometimes the route that you think is the fastest isn't. You can only find that out by trial and error. And we have things like strategically placed speed pads, such that you see them and you wonder why they're there. Why are they on the ceiling? Oh yeah, I can jump up to that. So if my opponents don't spot that, I can get that extra boost where they can't. The verticality of the game gives it a whole added dimension. We've talked before about the ceilings and the walls, and that changes everything. It's a complete 720-degree game. It's just adds so much more. And I don't think there's anything more satisfying than coming off a ceiling of a tunnel upside down out into open space, and you drop down slowly and fire off a couple of missiles at the guy in front, and they slam into him, pulling him up in the air just as you scoot in underneath as when you land on the floor. What other game can you do that in? It's awesome. There's these great big jumps as well that you have to do that you often don't see in other games, that maybe Trackmania, that kind of thing, but certainly not your regular racing games. It's about having a good time and busting up the place. Roll Cage's vehicles and Grip's vehicles to a higher degree have some unique characteristics compared to a lot of other racing games. Of course, the most obvious is the large wheels, which facilitates the fact that the vehicles can flip over. But we add in a lot of what you might call bombast to the game, really, in that we add a lot of downforce, so your cars can slam around the walls and get up on the ceiling and go anywhere, do anything. We've added into that in Grip especially launch control, which means you can kind of put some power into your suspension as it hunkers down and then launch up, which means you can do all sorts of manoeuvres that you couldn't do in the original Roll Cage. We've added in things like handbrake turns, for example, and J-turns and donuts and wheel spinning. It's just all about making a big mess of the place and having fun. Not just racing, but having fun and fighting with each other. And we've tried to make the vehicles as responsive and as visceral as we can to get that feeling across the player. The hardcore arcade racer has been long missed in the industry as far as I'm concerned. I'm not sure why they've been gone for so long. You still see the likes of Wipeout or Mario Kart, but they're not the same thing. They're not like Roll Cage or Grip. But I think getting the balance right in this type of game is difficult. We want these heavy weapons, but we have to be careful how much they mess you up. Because trust me, we've had to do a lot of iteration on getting the balance right between weapons messing you up and you getting back into the race again quickly, because at 500 kph, your opponents are gone. So we have to make you feel like you've really been hit, but not so much that it's taken you out. You feel like you've still got enough, you're still with it and you can get back in there and you can still win. And that balance is really hard to get right. It's taken us a while. I think maybe even Roll Cage got that wrong. I think often when you were hit, you couldn't get back in. Certainly I remember playing with my own friends and it would be a rage quit quite quickly. But the answer to why hardcore combat races have been missing for a while now is that they're just not easy to get right, and I say hopefully that we think we have.
Like and share if you enjoy the video and think others might benefit from this, and of course subscribe and hit the notification button if you are new to the channel and want to be notified every time I post a video.